Word of Life brought to you by Therein.
Morning, guys and girls. Okay. Don't make me wait for anything. I deserve everything immediately. So, basically, in this chapter, where it speaks about we don't want to wait for anything, we want everything immediately. So, who likes a home-cooked Sunday meal? Okay, no? And who's willing to cook it? Not everyone who raised their hands, you know. We all want McDonald's in life. And then we get frustrated when the card machine doesn't work and the queue's building up and you need to wait 5 minutes. And it's something that we got used to. But back in the day, when electricity weren't a privilege and people had to use candles and they didn't have the opportunity of geysers and those type of things, then they weren't used to that privileges. And they didn't suffer without the privileges. And we need to understand that going without the privilege is not suffering. It's just going without the privilege. And we see it as suffering when we need to go without the privilege. It's something that we need to identify. In Jericho, we tend to go back to the basics. At a stage, there weren't any fridges here. And we were upset, because there's no fridges. But that only became a point to be upset about when the fridges broke. When there were no fridges at all, we weren't used to the fridges and we understood that there's no fridges and that's the way it is. It's a privilege and we need to understand it as a privilege, not feel that we are treated unjustly if a privilege maybe isn't there all the time. It says here, impatience is the fruit of pride. A proud person cannot seem to wait for anything with a proper attitude. When you need to wait for a home-cooked meal, you're waiting in anticipation and you're looking forward to this meal you're about to enjoy. Even 10 minutes before the time, you're like, food's almost ready, I'm excited now. Let me get some cool drink ready, let's set the table, let's get everything ready because we're gonna enjoy this nice, well-prepared meal. So when we're waiting for a well-prepared meal, we're not waiting in frustration. But when we're waiting for McDonald's, we're waiting in frustration. The point I'm trying to make is, if it's something worthwhile, you wouldn't mind the waiting. And if you're struggling with the waiting, then it's probably not worthwhile. You need to weigh up certain things in your life that you're waiting for. And if those things are important to you, you wouldn't mind the waiting. And if you get frustrated for certain things you claim to be important, the frustration wouldn't get the better of you. Or it's not that important as you make it out to be. Let's go to James 5 verse 7. It says, therefore be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the earthly and latter rain. If you try to harvest something before its time, it's not gonna be the best it can be. Same in our recovery, same in our relationships. If you know that you need to prepare for something, let's say you're preparing to run a marathon, it's gonna take a certain amount of preparation in order to do a good time. Let's say you want to use that marathon to qualify for the Comrades. So you need to do it under certain amount of hours. And if you train and you feel that you are ready and you're not ready and you're going to try and do that marathon, you're not going to do the best you can and you're probably going to end up not qualifying. But by preparing a little bit longer, practicing a little bit longer, you might do a better time and that might lead you to qualify. And in our lives, that qualifying might mean that we want to make a success of our life forward, or making a success of your recovery, not falling back. So this is a preparation stage. If you don't do your best preparation, you won't receive the best result. We want to do short-term preparation. We want to do McDonald's waiting, and we expect a home-cooked meal. You can't get a home-cooked meal in 5 minutes. We all know that. But when it comes to the waiting part, we want the best things immediately. We need to learn to enjoy where we are while we are on our way to where we're going. Jacques mentioned the same thing yesterday. He said, it's how you wait. And there's blessing in your waiting. Your attitude while you wait determines how you will receive what you're waiting for. Through a waiting process, with a good attitude, you can receive blessings while you wait. But with an arrogant, prideful attitude, you're not going to receive those blessings, and you might end up blowing it because you're not willing to wait the duration of the time for the process to be complete. Sometimes we don't know when a process will be complete, when a process will be ready for execution, when it will be the perfect time. But we know that we need to wait until the time is perfect. And you will know when the time is perfect. But if you limit yourself to, I'm only going to wait this long, you're going to do damage to the waiting period, and you're not going to get what you're supposed to get. If you're going to set a certain amount of time for or before you do a harvest, the fruit might not be at its best condition. But now, because you're not willing to wait another week or two or for more rain, you're not going to get the best product. So if we want the best product in our recovery, in our lives, we will be willing to wait for however long we need to wait. You can gauge it, and you can gauge yourself. If I ask the question, are you willing to do whatever it takes for your recovery? And a lot of people will say, yes, I am. Asking the question in a different way, asking, are you prepared to wait for as long as you need to wait? And then suddenly it changes. They're not willing to wait for as long as they need to wait, but they're willing to do what they need to do. And sometimes willing to do what you need to do means waiting for the duration of the period. Do we choose immediately or permanent? Let's use a gym as an example. Now there's a lot of exercises. People can use different things in order to achieve different things in gym. You know, you can use a lot of supplements, and people can use steroids, and they can get big very quickly. But that quickly thing, that McDonald's thing, won't last. You will deflate, you know? That is how it works like that, because it's a quick fix. It's something that will blow you up quite quickly, and then if you don't put in the effort, you will deflate. It's something that people fail to see, and then there's people that has trained their life the correct way. They've eaten correctly, they slept correctly, they did what they were supposed to do over a long period of time, And for years after they stop their training, they will still be in good condition because they refuse to take the easy way. I used to live with this quote in my head when I was still very dysfunctional. I used to say that always take the shortcut, except if the long way is quicker. Well, what it meant was you try to do things as quick as you can. But sometimes you need to understand that if you learn for an exam quickly, then when it's the next exam, you would forget what you've learned. And if you do use the long way, which will be quicker, doing well in your assignments and doing well in your class tests, and then when it comes to the preparation of the exam, you would know most of it. You would have good marks already backing you up when it comes to the exam part. So that's something that I've learned through my addiction, dysfunctional behavior, but I never clicked that I need to give my best all the time. You know, being impatient, like we said here, is a fruit of pride. And we know what the Bible says about pride. And we know that the Bible says you need to be humble instead of being filled with pride. If you are humble, you will always be willing to wait the duration. Okay, wherever it might be. You wouldn't complain standing in queues. You wouldn't complain waiting for a home-cooked meal. You wouldn't complain waiting for the best results. A humble person won't be impatient, and it means that if you are impatient, then humility is not part of your character traits, and then pride is. And that's something where we can see, if I'm not willing to wait, then I need to work on my pride. If you are not willing to wait, then you need to work on your pride. Let's go to Romans 12 verse 3. For I say, through the grace given to me, to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly as God has dealt to each one a measure of faith. This goes with the humility, and we need to try and come to a place where we are overwhelmed with humility. There is confidence in humility. There's no arrogance in humility. So we need to distinguish between the good character traits, having confidence, and in what we have our confidence and in who we have our confidence. And we need to surround ourselves with humble people. We need to surround ourselves with circumstances that will keep us humble, that will keep us accountable. No one here would like to fall. We fell continuous amount of times and we don't want to fall again. But if we don't get rid of that pride, we will fall again. Sometimes we're privileged enough to identify that pride in a safe environment where you won't fall that far. But sometimes we cloak ourselves with this humility and this false humility, which is actually a form of pride, and then you elevate yourself, and then when you fall, it's hard and it hurts. It's not nice for anyone, and if you know it's not going to be nice, you need to check yourself when you start feeling that you're filled with pride, when someone tries to point out that, listen, what you're doing now is not the real you, you're becoming arrogant. Then we need to check that what they're saying now is actually just pointing out that I'm slipping off track and I need to check myself and get in line. And if we do that and we keep short accounts, then you won't fall far. You will just maybe fall this far, you know, and it won't hurt. You can get up and you can start again, and That's a short account. But if you're not accountable, nobody keeps you in check, when you fall then, it's going to be hard. You might break something and you might lose something in the progress. The last scripture is John 16 verse 33. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. It says here that we will have tribulation, and we will have more tribulation if we're living the correct life, going a little bit upstream, not going with the motions. It says also that the world has hated him first, and the world will also hate you if you live for him, and that's okay. We're gonna go through trials and tribulations and difficult circumstances, but it says here, be of good cheer when we're going through those things. In Peter, it also speaks about, if you go through trials and tribulations and through suffering, that you will reap a reward if you wait patiently, not if you wait with frustration and not understanding and being upset all the time because now you need to wait, and then you steal your own good headspace away from you. No one else steals your headspace. It's you. I want to just close off with this one statement. Perfect circumstances is only part of your imagination. No one else lives in a perfect world. It's an imaginary world, and you get close to perfect, or you get good circumstances. But there's no such thing as perfect circumstances, and we keep on striving for those things. We keep on striving for a perfect relationship, or a perfect job, or a perfect world, but it doesn't exist, so we should stop looking for it.